Hey guys, Buckner Gaming back, bringing you another video for the weapon conversion series, and today we're going to cover the L85A2, which is the British Standard Service Rifle as an assault rifle. So in this game, you have the S87, and we're going to convert that to the L85A2. So the S87 is based off of the L86A2, which is the light machine gun variant of this weapon, and by shortening the barrel up, we can make it into the assault rifle variant, which is the L85A2. So let's get right into it here. We're going to show you how to make the weapon, and then we're going to do some test fires and see the recoil patterns, and then we're going to jump in and see how it performs against bots in a private match. So let's go ahead and back out and create the weapon. So first off, you can see for the muzzle, I'm using a compensator. Now again, this is just personal preference. It goes more along the lines with the aesthetic design of the L85A2. You could also throw a muzzle brake on here or something else if you wanted, but the compensator is also going to help you with recoil control overall, which is good. Moving to the barrel length for the L85A2 typically is about 20.4 inches. So with this one, we have an 18.2 inch factory barrel. So that's the closest we're going to get to the L85 barrel length. So we're going to select the SA87 18.2 inch factory barrel. That's going to give us that assault rifle L85A2 barrel length for the most part. Then for the optic, I'm going to go with the integral hybrid sight. So this is going to give me my 3.25 times zoom as well as my red dot sight. For stock, we're going to leave this one blank. Again, just for aesthetic purposes, the L85 has a very particular buttstock to it, being a bullpup rifle. And just to stay with the standard look of the L85A2, I'm just going to choose to not put a stock on there. But again, this is personal preference. The perk, again, we're going to leave this one blank because I'd rather just use the attachments on elsewhere. So moving to the grip, we're going to use the stippled grip tape. So this one's going to improve our aim down sight speed as well as our sprint to fire speed. And that's a big problem with this weapon in particular, especially the L86A2 version or the standard SA87 version that you get, which is the light machine gun version. In this game, the sprint to fire time, coming out of a sprint and ADSing is nearly impossible, and you're going to lose almost every gunfight. So you want to mitigate that as much as possible. So that's why here I'm adding the stippled grip, which is going to improve that aim down sight speed. So that's another thing. Like for the muzzle, like you can see the compensator, that negates my aim down sight speed. So I am getting recoil control out, so that's going to be pick or choose. You could honestly go without a barrel attachment if you wanted and use this elsewhere for maybe ammunition or something else. But for the purpose of this, we're going to just put a compensator on. Next up, ammunition, we're going to leave blank, but our choices here are a 50-round mag as well as a 60-round mag. So this goes more along the lines with what you would want on the L86 version or the light machine gun variant, but for the purpose of this, we only want the standard clip, which should be a 30-round magazine. And again, this is firing 5.56 NATO rounds. And then under barrel, we're going to do the Ranger foregrip. This is, again, more of an aesthetic choice. You could do something like the Merc foregrip. It also looks good. If you were doing the standard L86A2 light machine gun variant, you could do a bipod. But for this, the L85 aesthetic look, we're going to go with the Ranger foregrip that we have here. So again, there's our finished product, the L85A2. Now let's go ahead and look at the recoil patterns in game. Okay. So now that we're in game, we have our L85A2. So let's go ahead and see how this fires. First off, we'll start off with the zoom here. So I'm just going to fire this thing straight without controlling my recoil at all against this wall. So you can see there it climbs up and to the right slightly, right? So it's going almost at a diagonal angle. So now if I control the recoil, so the most part, it mitigates that a lot. The spread is still semi-significant there, but again, much better than it was. So if we were to switch to select fire to single fire now, So you can see that spread is a lot tighter than anything, obviously because I'm in single fire. So full auto, not controlling recoil, and this is single shot, controlling recoil. So again, if I were to now see if this makes any difference, if we have the, if we're going to use the red dot, right? So let's try and control this recoil once again. So there you go. It's pretty accurate. You can easily mitigate any recoil and control it pretty well. Now, if I were to not control the recoil, let's go against this wall. So again, that's pretty high, right? And then if I control it. So that is the L85A2. Let's go ahead and see how, now that we see the recoil patterns, let's go ahead and see how it performs against bots. So again, this is the L85A2, 5.56 times 45 millimeter assault rifle for the British Army, standard service rifle. Now the L85A1 was first rolled out and designed in the 1970s, and then 1985 was put into service. And it lasted until 1994, when its service stopped because there was numerous flaws with the L85A1, and it was shortly replaced by the L85A2 in the early 2000s. And the L85A2 corrected a lot of those flaws in the design, and it was developed by Heckler Koch, which is the German company that we've seen for the MP5, etc.
Enemy at the compound.
So here we go at distance. So if I were to just tap fire this, you can see if you just control your fire there, it's definitely very accurate.
Enemy at the
Personal radar ready for deployment.
But the L85A1 was a weapon that was definitely hated by the British soldiers, and so the L85A2 luckily corrected a lot of those flaws. Oh, darn. So it's just some facts about the L85A2. Get into that is muzzle velocity is 930 to 940 meters per second. The effective range of the weapon is 300 to 400 meters. The feed system, obviously this is a bullpup system, so it's a 30-round detachable mag. Oh. You can see it handles pretty well, and if you use this thing right, the ADS speed for this compared to the ADS speed compared to the LMG variant is much better. I hear him, but I don't know where he is. Here we go. Then usually for this weapon, so the reason we put the integral hybrid is because it closely resembles what the standard scope is for this, which is a telescopic SUSAT ACOG. So it usually comes with an ACOG called the SUSAT. But for this, we don't really have a typical ACOG sight, so I prefer the integral hybrid. I think it is closely resembled to that. The rate of fire on the L85A2 is 610 to 755. Whoop. So the rate of fire is 610 to 755 rounds per minute. And again, it fires at 5.56 times 45 NATO rounds. And it's gas-operated bullpup. So recently in 2018, the L85A3 was developed and started to roll out in the service. The L82 is still the standard service rifle for the British Army to this day, and I'm not sure what the timeline is for that to be replaced. If we have anyone out there who, any British ex-soldiers or military, may know that better than I would. But this is definitely a weapon. If you can go through the pain of leveling up the L86 or the SA87, then it's definitely worth it to get this build out of this gun. You can see the recoil really isn't that bad on this. And once you shorten that barrel and add the right attachments, the recoil is easily controllable, and the AES speed is pretty good as well. Yeah, so you can see it does handle pretty well for an assault rifle. And again, this is just one of a few bullpup assault rifles in the game, or bullpup rifles in the game. We have the FAMAS, or the 5.56, and then this. Whoops, that guy didn't die. But I do hope you guys like this weapon. I know this is one that I would absolutely use if I can go through the pain of actually, once you get through leveling up and to use this, it's absolutely worth it. But using the standard SA87 is gonna be tough. So I hope you guys like this series, weapon conversion kits. I think there's a lot more weapons I have to cover, and some of you have given me some great suggestions as well. And I know there's also blueprints that we unlock as we level up and complete challenges, so there's definitely going to be some different builds there. So recently we did like the ACC Honey Badger and the M16, and there is definitely blueprints for those that will change the aesthetic designs to some of the attachments that we don't have access to right now. But go ahead and leave your opinions of this weapon and then ideas for conversion kits that you want to see in the game. Again, I have a list of a lot to go through, so let me know your feedback. Also, be sure to check out my Twitch in the description below. So now that this game's out, I'm planning on getting a schedule together, but typically I'm going to be on there on weekends and maybe a few nights during the week, depending. So if you go ahead and check me out over there, and I'll also be live streaming here on YouTube sometimes as well. This guy's close. I don't know where he is. There we go. So again, this is the L85A2. I'm Buff Nerd Gaming, and until next time, Buff Nerd Gaming, out.